Archangel Michael order you to open this now. This will surprise you. Your person is planning to appear at your door soon with something hidden in there. Open immediately. Archangel Michael says, the hour has turned and the path has narrowed, and the sound you hear in your chest is not fear but preparation. A private message courses through your bones like a quiet drum, telling you to rise, straighten your shoulders and face what is walking toward you. You were not chosen to live small, and tonight refuses smallness. A knock gathers itself from faraway corridors of choice and consequence. Footsteps draw a map on the street outside your window, and every mark on that map points toward your door. Your person carries something hidden, tucked where the casual eye might miss it. It warms in their grasp like a truth aching to be spoken. They believe the door will open and they will place it in your hands before you can name what it is. You feel the air change first, as if the room has leaned forward to listen. Curtains lift slightly, a breath pushes across the floor, and the clock begins to sound louder than any clock you have owned. Is it the moment the story insists on being told? You do not run from it, and you do not chase it. You stand inside your own name like a pillar set in living earth. The threshold is no longer wood and metal but a vow that you keep with yourself. The hidden object is not just an object, and you know this without being told. It carries memory, intention, and the residue of everything unspoken. It is a fragment of yesterday shaped into a decision about tomorrow. You remember the last time you heard a knock and turned away from it. You remember what silence costs you when you let others frame your hour with their shadows. A night writes a different cost with a different ink. A night around your building has its own choreography. A car idles and then settles. A streetlight hums. A neighbor's door opens and closes like a rehearsal of the sound that will soon come to you. All of it sketches one direction. You set the room the way a garden prepares a gate. The chair is moved an inch to the left, the table is cleared of old papers, and the light is softened so your eyes can see the truth without glare. These small actions place your spirit in its center. Your person rehearses lines that the body does not believe. Your breath knows the truth before their tongue allows it. The hidden thing in their hand burns with the heat of admission. You sense the first tremor of approach in your chest, a steady beat that matches the road. Old doubts lift their heads and then fall back, as if ashamed to stand in this new brightness. The path wants you steady and awake. You remember promises that remain when voices were tired and hearts were impatient. You remember how the wind kept returning a certain scent to your window, reminding you that nothing truly important stops at the first boundary. This memory becomes a lantern. The surprise is not that they are coming. The surprise is that heaven moved the furniture of time to place this night exactly here. The clock and the road agreed to meet at your address. You hear the shoes on pavement, the pause at the curb, the pull of fabric settling into steadiness. Your person thinks they are arriving alone. You know better because you feel protection standing shoulder to shoulder with you. You are not required to rescue a storm. You are not required to collapse your worth to fit a smaller story. The threshold honors the one who stands upright in their truth. The hidden thing touches the skin like a sparrow that has flown too far to remember the shape of home. It shakes sidely, then stills, then shakes again. The hand holding it argues with the heart holding it. A soft knock enters your evening and it is not loud, but it carries weight. It carries the weight of roads walked and words delayed. It carries the weight of a chapter that no longer wants to be half written. You pause for 3 heartbeats because 3 heartbeats can separate confusion from clarity. You name yourself by your full name in your mind and feel your spine acknowledge you. You breathe in a promise and breathe out a boundary. When you open with dignity. The doorknob moves without squeal. The hinges obey and your gaze remains level. What you have learned stands in the doorway with you like armor made of kindness. Your person cannot hide what they tried to hide. The room knows the shape of what is concealed before the hand opens. The air leans toward the truth the way a field leans toward rain. They lift the object and it enters the light of your room. It might be a key, it might be a letter. It might be a ring. It might be a folded contract, it might be a phone with proof inside. It might be a tiny box with something that asks more than it offers. Whatever it is, it arrives carrying the sum of 100 small decisions. Your hands do not rush. Your eyes listen before your ears take their turn. You measure not only what is offered but the courage it took to carry it to you. Words begin to move between you like a river that finally found its bed. The river has silt and stones and sparkle. It also has a direction that will not be bargained with. They speak about fear because fear built a fence around their mouth for too long. They speak about choices that tried to satisfy hunger with dust. They speak about the reason the hidden thing feels heavier than it looks. You do not interrupt and you do not flinch. You remain a steady flame that does not burn the one who draws near. Your steadiness teaches both of you what safety means when it is real. Part of the surprise is not what they brought but what they admit while their hands are empty. They admit the nights they rehearsed the knock and turned back. They admit the apology they owed to the day they got postponing. Another part of the surprise is your own voice, which has grown richer since the last time this conversation tried to begin. Your voice is a room big enough for truth without violence. Your voice is a place where both yes and no can be holy. This night does not break you. This night bends closer to hear the oath you choose to make with yourself. You remember that not choosing is also a choice and you refuse to be drafted by silence. Your person does not own your dawn. They do not own the lock on your door and they do not own the compass in your chest. They either bring what builds or they leave with what breaks. You look at the hidden thing now opened on the table. If it is a key, it asks about access and trust and the cost of entry. If it is a letter, it asks about witness and memory and the right of truth to stand unshaking. If it is a ring, it asks about promise, repair, and the architecture of forever. If it is a contract, it asks who profits, who pays, and whether your name belongs beside theirs. If it is a phone with proof, it asks whether daylight is finally allowed to touch the facts without flinching. You answer with a steady sequence of choices. First, you honor what your body knows, because your body has never lied to you. Then you honor what your soul knows, because your soul has been in conversation with heaven all day. The room becomes an altar of honesty without any need for spectacle. The window holds the night at a respectful distance. The table holds the object while your courage holds the room. You remember the mornings when you promised yourself to stop accepting halfway things. You remember the evenings when you practiced saying no without the tremor of apology. You remember the days you carried your own hidden thing and learned to set it down. The one at your door sees this and adjusts. The shoulders lower. The jaw unlocks. The eyes settle into truth. A new way of speaking takes root. If they came to honor you, the honor becomes mutual. If they came to bargain with your worth, the bargain dissolves in the light you keep pouring into the room. Either way, you stay whole. You now set terms like a gate that swings only for the right wind. You say what you will build and what you will not allow to live in your space. You say it once, and you say it clearly enough that the floor hears you. A small silence follows, not empty, but full. In that silence, you notice things that matter more than the object on the table. You notice the alignment of your breath and your belief. The night outside nods as if it recognizes the posture of someone who will not go back to a smaller version of themselves. The walls of your home straighten because your spine straightened first. Even the clock seems to switch from counting minutes to measuring meaning. You let the hidden thing teach its last lesson. It taught about delay and courage and the price of secrecy. It taught about how truth becomes heavier the longer a hand refuses to open. A choice is made now, and it is clean. If the path forward is together, it will be built with daily truth and not with surprise packages that arrive after midnight. If the path forward is separate, it will be blessed by clarity and protected by firm kindness. You do not chase, and you do not hide. You open the door or you close it according to what honors your future. You make a space where trust can breathe. Your person understands because your steadiness acts like a mirror. In that mirror they witness both their sincerity and their unfinished work. The mirror does not shame them, but it does not flatter them either. You place your hand over your heart and feel it agree with your choice. Agreement in the heart sounds like a bell heard through clean air. It is simple, and it is enough. The object loses its power to command the room. Objects tremble when they meet the kind of clarity you carry now. A ring becomes a ring again, a key becomes a key, a letter becomes paper with ink and consequence. You offer a final word that is not a plea, but a principle. You will walk with what tells the truth. You will close the door to what steals your peace. The night, now softer, settles around the building like a shawl woven from finished stories. Tires whisper on the road like pages turning. Somewhere a dog lifts its head and then rests again, as if the neighborhood itself has exhaled. You restore the room to its everyday shape, but something essential in it has changed. The chair is back where it belongs, yet the air carries bravery. The window is closed, yet the horizon feels closer. The future steps forward because you stepped forward first. The threshold remembers you and will be faithful to this memory the next time a knock arrives. Your name shines on your own tongue like a promise kept. You drink water slowly because water knows how to bless without noise. You let your shoulders fall because the armor can rest now. You breathe as if the walls just grew roots. Across the city, dawn begins preparing itself even though the dark still looks strong. Dawn respects courage and rearranges its colors for those who choose it. Dawn loves a door that opens for truth and refuses to open for anything smaller. Somewhere in the distance your person walks away or walks in, and either motion can be holy when it follows clarity. The street reclaims its ordinary music. The sky holds your decision like a bright coin. This night will not be forgotten by the part of you that commands your seasons. It will be the page you return to when storms pretend to be bigger than they are. It will be the proof that you are not a hallway for other people's shadows. You have stood, and you will keep standing. You have decided, and you will keep deciding in the same light. You have honored the truth, and the truth will honor you back. Your door is yours, and your life is yours, and your future is yours. You hold them with both hands and with a calm that does not shout. The hidden thing taught you what stays hidden and what deserves the sun. When the roof highly sleeps, it sleeps like a lion that trusts its own watchfulness. The clock returns to minutes, the window returns to weather. And your breath returns to its quiet work. The story moves forward on feet that do not slip. You wake tomorrow, and you will not perform yesterday's fear. You will dress in certainty and step into a morning that knows your name. The world respects a soul that respects itself. Every path you touch will learn your rhythm, every conversation will feel the benefit of the boundaries you built tonight. Every love you allow will be measured by how well it befriends your peace. You will not accept a gift that requires the burial of your voice. You will not sign what asks for your absence. You will not wear a ring that silences the person who would wear it. You will accept what partners with your calling. You will sign what protects your integrity. You will wear what bears witness to the bigness of your heart and the steadiness of your step. The surprise of the night becomes the strength of the morning. The hidden thing loses its mask and finds its right place. The door becomes a teacher that keeps teaching every time your hand reaches for the knob. The city completes its slow turn toward day, and your house hums with a gentle clarity. The table stands faithful. The chair stands ready. The window understands its role. Everything simple becomes generous again. You are not waiting for permission to be whole. You have granted it already by the way you handled this hour. The sky responds with color that only the brave ever really see. What arrives next will meet a version of you that cannot be fooled by performance. What arrives next will either join your peace or pass quietly by. What arrives next will not find you unprepared. Carry this night like a seal pressed into wax. Carry it into conversations and decisions and unguarded afternoons. Carry it so thoroughly that even your silence tells the truth. A door opens and a life answers, and the world understands the sound. The sound is you. The sound is the future choosing you back. This is how Enoch becomes a covenant. This is how a hidden thing becomes a teacher. This is how your name learns to stand taller than any surprise. Rest now in the house that your courage built. Rest in the quiet that follows a clean decision. Rest the way a harbor rests after the ship has sailed in the right direction. The path before you will keep widening because you will keep walking it with honor. The people who belong to your tomorrow will recognize this light and walk beside it. The ones who do not belong will fade without drama. Nothing in this hour was wasted. Nothing in your journey will require you to betray yourself again. Nothing that matters will ask you to dim your honest fire. Stand in your doorway one last time and feel the threshold remember. Thank your feet for staying. Thank your heart for staying true. Close the door with peace and with power. Turn the lock like a blessing you give to your own future. Walk back into the room that now knows your strength by name. The night completes itself with dignity. Your life meets itself with dignity. The future bows to the one who chose dignity. You did not hesitate when it mattered. You did not collapse when the weight appeared. You did not lose the map you carried inside your ribs. Now you move forward in a cleanliness the world cannot counterfeit. Now you belong to the day that is meeting you with open hands. Now the surprise has become a foundation. The hidden thing has been seen and set in its right place. The one who carried it has been answered with clarity. The home that received it has been crowned with calm. This is the record of a night that changed a season. This is the witness your spirit will cite when lesser storms try to posture. This is the chapter that guards the chapters that fall. You walk to the window and let a small smile find your mouth. A new air fills the room and the room says yes. The city outside nods as if it has always known you would choose this. Nothing left in this hour needs fixing. Everything left in this hour needs honoring. You do the honoring with your next breath. The door is ready for tomorrow and so are you. The path is ready for your pace and so is the sky. The world is ready for your truth and so is your heart. You are finished with hiding and finished with apology and finished with delay. You are beginning with brightness and beginning with steadiness and beginning with a fuller name. You are exactly on time. If you wish to express your support further, you have the option to give super thanks with contributions of up to $1.20. Archangel Michael says your courage has settled into the room like steady weather. The walls remember your voice and keep its outline. The floor holds your footsteps as if they were signatures of a new contract with yourself. Warning arrives without noise, yet everything in it feels decisive. The kettle breathes. The window opens to a plain sky and your hands choose movements that match your calm. Nothing tries to rehearse an old pattern. You place the object where truth can see it. The table is a witness rather than a stage. The light across the wood clarifies edges and ends. If the night gave a yes, the day asks for structure. You draw simple lines in a notebook and name them boundaries that stay. You write what is allowed to cross your threshold and what must remain outside. If the night gave a no, the day asks for release. You lift the weight without bitterness and set it down in the past where it belongs. You bless your future with space and clean air. Either path requires the same discipline. You choose consistency over drama. You choose daily actions that keep your word alive. Your home teaches you how to keep a promise to yourself. The chair keeps its posture and invites you to keep yours. The clock keeps its pace and reminds you that mastery is made of ordinary hours. You eat slowly and let nourishment mean more than survival. Bread becomes agreement with strength. Water becomes a steady prayer without any words at all. The phone rests face down because your attention belongs to this moment. Alerts can wait because your life cannot. You show the world how you want to be met by showing yourself first. Your person may text or call or knock again. You will meet whatever arrives with the same even light. You will not lose yourself for the sake of someone who only found themselves last night. You step through each room like a captain inspecting a ship after the storm. Nothing leaks because your boundaries hold. Nothing shudders because your spirit holds. There are papers that need signatures and letters that need archiving. You make clear stacks called keep, return, and release. You transform clutter into clarity and call it protection. Your breath takes the day in measured portions. inhale steadiness and exhale residue. Repeat until the house feels rinsed. Outside, the street performs its ordinary music. A vendor calls softly. A motorbike glides past. A kid laughs the way only morning can allow. Life continues and welcomes your new rhythm. You make a list that does not negotiate with distraction. It names care, work, movement, and stillness. It names gratitude without spectacle. Your feet want motion, so you take them outside for a while. The air agrees with your pace. The path respects your authority. You notice how the city mirrors your change. Even the crosswalk looks more decisive, even the trees hold their leaves with an earned grace. Archangel Michael says the unseen watches how you handle the scene. The invisible agreements gather around a person who keeps their word. Doors you cannot yet name study your posture and take notes. You return home with a steadier heartbeat. You wash your hands as if sealing a chapter. You touch the table and feel the decision remain intact. If the path is together, you plan the architecture of trust. You set times, you set reviews. You set transparency like windows that open. You refuse the fog that once tried to live between you. If the path is separate, you plan the architecture of freedom. You arrange the return of items with good accounting and no cruelty. You design exits that do not leave splendors. You answer messages with brevity and clarity. You do not explain your worth because your life now explains it for you. You do not perform pain for anyone's approval. A quiet hour arrives and offers a private rehearsal of joy. You imagine a life that is simple and unbreakable. You imagine a calendar that bows to your purpose rather than your fear. You choose 3 habits that become guardrails. You choose a morning checking with your body, an afternoon checking with your focus, and an evening checking with your peace. You keep them with the same respect you keep your name. Your person, if still near, learns your cadence. They meet checkpoints instead of moods, they bring truth in daylight rather than surprise at midnight. You turn the hidden thing into information instead of mythology. If it is a key, it becomes a clear plan with clear access rules. If it is a ring, it becomes a path of counseling, commitments, and timelines that honor reality. If it is a letter, it becomes documentation that informs repair. If it is proof, it becomes a starting line for accountability instead of an altar for drama. You keep the lesson and discard the theater. The afternoon gathers warmth and your window gathers light. Dust floats like tiny signatures of time. You feel no urge to rush because your clarity has already arrived. Archangel Michael says confidence is quiet and exact. Confidence closes the loop on yesterday and opens the door to today without shaking. Confidence is the calmest power in any room. You schedule what matters and cancel what does not. You check your bank, you check your projects, you check your health routines, you verify alignment where it counts. Your voice takes on a new texture when you speak to family and friends. It holds compassion without surrendering authority. It gives without bargaining away the core. You practice small celebrations that do not depend on anyone's performance. A clean desk, a completed task, a sunset watched all the way to its last thread of gold. Evening returns and finds you taller in your own silhouette. Your shoulders do not ask for permission to be broad. Your heart does not ask for permission to be bright. You cook something simple and let the aroma fill the space. Nourishment becomes an oath renewed by flavor and heat. The kitchen becomes a temple of grounded joy. If a memory tries to pull you back to a smaller room, you thank it for its service and keep walking. Gravity yields to direction. Weight yields to will. You fold your clothes and set tomorrow's outfit like a promise to the day. Preparation erases the invitation to chaos. Readiness is a love letter to your future self. The night sky opens above your building like a theater without a roof. Stars hold their positions like faithful witnesses. The city breathes and you breathe with it. Archangel Michael says the path that honors you will keep opening. The path that diminishes you will keep closing. Your job is to recognize which is which and keep your feet accordingly. You sit with the last page of the day and write 3 lines of truth. I kept my word. I kept my peace. I kept my door. The room answers with a hush that feels like approval. Your bed holds you as if you weigh exactly what you should. Your breath enters a rhythm that sounds like certainty. You sleep without bargaining with dreams. You sleep without carrying other people's homework. You sleep like someone who belongs to their own life. Dawn notices and arrives with a respectful brightness. It places a gentle hand on your window. It signals that consistency is the kindest miracle. You rise and the mirror tells you what the night already knew. Your face holds a quiet that no one gave you and no one can take. Your eyes hold horizons that keep moving closer. You move through the day with ease of someone whose choices match their values. You waste no energy on disguise. You waste no time on arguments with reality. Calls come in and you answer with clarity or you do not answer at all. Messages arrive and you sort them by alignment rather than urgency. A full calendar bows to the authority of purpose. Your person, if present in your life, feels the relief of clean structure. They understand that your warmth requires truth as fuel. They understand that your love requires honesty as oxygen. If they cannot meet it, your path separates without ceremony. If they can meet it, your path joins with dignity. Either outcome is a victory for your peace. Work receives the upgraded version of you and improves. Friends receive the upgraded version of you and rise. Even strangers feel steadier in your presence because steadiness is contagious. You give generously from a place that never empties. You give time with edges, attention with discernment, and care with wisdom. You give because you are full rather than to feel full. Your home continues to anchor the standard you set. The door remembers. The table remembers. The window remembers. Nothing grand needs to happen for this to be holy. A clean sink becomes proof of sovereignty. A thin-nick page becomes proof of momentum. The week gathers and bows to the rhythm you now keep. You mark progress in metrics that matter. You measure success by nights like the one you survived with grace. The month will pass and the season will follow. You will check the threshold and find it still in your favor. You will check your reflection and find it still in your care. People will say they notice something new. They will name it glow or calm or presence. You will name it alignment and leave it at that. Archangel Michael says keep your hand on the wheel of your days, keep your eyes on the horizon that matches your calling. Keep your feet in the lane that respects your soul. The knock lost its terror because you gain your center. The story lost its grip because you gain your ground. This is the part where your life becomes a teacher for others. They will ask how you found this steadiness and you will show them by living it. They will catch the light by walking beside you. Your future will not arrive as an ambush. It will arrive as a series of kept promises. It will arrive as a sequence of decisions that fit. You stand again at the doorway not to brace for danger but to bless your own going out and coming in. You touch the frame with respect. You step into the day like a quiet king. The city nods, the sky opens, and the road agrees. Your posture writes instructions into the air, your name moves forward with authority. Everything after this listens to the pitch of your voice. Everything after this reads the edges of your boundaries. Everything after this learns the calm of your yes and the finality of your no. You are now the steward of a threshold that answers to truth. You are now the keeper of a door that will not betray you. You are now the owner of a life that belongs to its purpose. Walk on and do not look back for permission. Walk on and carry only what builds. Walk on and let the world adjust to your clarity. Archangel Michael says the day favors the one who refuses to shrink. The hours open like gates that recognize your stride, the road bows to the rhythm of a life set in clean alignment. You carry the lesson of the night in your pocket like a folded map. It does not bend under pressure because your decision hardened it into purpose. Every turn now obeys the lines you drew in your own handwriting. The house hums with honest gravity. Objects keep to their places as if your clarity rearranged their small loyalties. Even the mirror honors you with a reflection that stands taller than old memory. You sort the remnants of yesterday with hands that do not shake. Keep, return, and release become a liturgy of freedom. The room grows wider not by magic but by order. A text arrives and it does not control your pulse. You read it with a calm that cannot be purchased. You respond in 3 exact lines and close the app without residue. The sun crosses to your window and leaves a bright stripe on the floor. You step into it and feel your posture rise another inch. Light recognizes light and greets it like family. You choose your work and it chooses you back. Focus flows in because distraction is no longer fed. The task in front of you receives the undivided person you have become. Your phone rings again and the name on it carries history. The sound does not drag you back into the smaller room. The call meets your standard or it meets your silence. You step outside and the street opens like a ribbon pulled clean. Vendors raise shutters, engines murmur, and the sky holds a pale promise that feels earned. The morning air respects your new authority. A neighbor nods and senses the upgrade without needing an explanation. Presence travels ahead of language and arranges chairs for honest conversations. Your footsteps draw a straight line that refuses detours. You buy fruit, pay with precision, and carry the bag like a small victory. Nourishment now obeys balance rather than mood. The body answers by standing taller with less effort. Back home, the table waits with the object placed exactly where the truth can see it. If it stays for a reason that serves peace. If it goes with gratitude and finality. You open a fresh page and write what the future requires. Daily, weekly, seasonally. Each column is a lane that keeps your wheels where they belong. The room warms around your decision like a hearth that finally found fire. Clarity owns its temperature and shares it without burning. Guests in this space will feel the standard before they hear it. In the afternoon, a knock returns, but the sound is different. It carries the cadence of someone who understands the price of admission. It carries the humility that follows a night of honest reckoning. You stand, breathe, and open. The doorway becomes a border guarded by dignity. The air between you remains clear because you keep it that way. Words arrive without theater. The object is addressed without superstition, the path is chosen without apology. If the path is together, you design it like architects who understand load-bearing truths. Transparency becomes glass walls that let the light move freely, timelines become beams that hold more than hope. If the path is separate, you finalize the release with a signature that does not tremble. Items are exchanged, accounts are closed, and promises are archived with accurate dates. The door learns how to end things without shattering. You send 3 messages to 3 people who matter. One receives gratitude, one receives a boundary. One receives an invitation. Each message finds the right door and knocks with clean knuckles. Evening gathers, and the city turns its lamps on one by one. Your window receives a slate blue softness that agrees with reflection. The day recites its proof that you kept your word to yourself. You cook dinner with unhurried hands. Heat, salt, and time meet in a small ceremony of care. The first bite tastes like a chapter closing and another opening at the same table. Music enters the room and knows not to shout. It threads through your breathing like a river that has finally found its bed. Your shoulders release a story they no longer need to hold. Archangel Michael says maintenance is the true miracle. One clean day multiplied by 20 becomes a life that does not fracture under weather. The quiet repetition of right things bends fate in your favor. You review your list and mark each box with a measured satisfaction. Completion is not chase anymore. Completion is the natural end of focused hours. Night raises the curtain on a deeper stillness. Your body recognizes it and answers with unforced rest. Your mind sits like a clear lake that keeps the stars faithful. Sleep finds you and walks beside you instead of dragging you. Dreams pass like soft weather that waters ideas without flooding the house. Morning waits just beyond with open hands. You rise before the alarm because anticipation has a steady voice. The sky has not decided on its colors yet, and your room feels like a sanctuary under construction. You stretch and the day stretches with you. Hydration becomes your first alignment. You drink like someone who signs a contract with stamina. The glass places a bright seal on the vow to remain clear. You move the hidden object from the table to the place it now belongs. If it symbolizes commitment, it lives in a plan built on daylight and accountability. If it symbolizes closure, it rests in a box labeled complete. A message from family knocks at your screen. You answer with warmth that does not bend your backbone. Love thrives best where clarity is the climate. You schedule the next 7 days with a practical mercy. Work blocks hold their ground. Recovery blocks protect the edges. Social blocks honor your need for separate rooms for joy and quiet. Your feet want motion again, so you give them honest miles. The path listens to your cadence and returns energy in kind. Twit writes a brief poem on your skin that evaporates into proof. A small challenge appears at noon, the way weather changes mid-journey. You watch it, name it, and set it where it belongs. You needn't dramatize it nor ignore it, and so it shrinks to its true size. The afternoon gives you a window of deep focus. You fall in and swim without splashing. Time loses its rough edges because attention has sanded them smooth. At dusk, you stand at the doorway again, not as a guard against chaos but as a steward of welcome. The frame recognizes your hands and answers with quiet strength. The street outside glows with an earned calm. You light a candle and let it translate intention into small flame. Fire behaves when purpose is present. Darum learns the difference between heat and hurry. A friend arrives and sits in the chair that now remembers your standard. Conversation flows without detours into old patterns. No one auditions for worth in this house anymore. You speak of the night that changed your season. You describe it like a map that others can adapt to their terrain. Your voice remains gentle because gentleness is not the opposite of strength. When the friend leaves, you tidy the room with the ease of someone who now lives at the right altitude. Order is not punishment. Order is freedom with handles. Days pass and consistency repeats its quiet victories. Your finances reflect structure. Your work reflects integrity. Your relationships reflect light without glare. Archangel Michael says heaven loves a calendar that keeps its promises. Heaven sends meetings to people whose yes and no could be trusted. Heaven amplifies the results of those who steward small things on ordinary Tuesdays. A message arrives from the person who once knocked with a hidden thing. It carries evidence of growth or evidence of stillness. You answer according to truth rather than nostalgia. The city lives its seasons and you live yours. Rain visits and finds your roof prepared. Heat arrives and finds your curtains ready. Cold tests the seals and finds them secure. You upgrade the small tools of your life because excellence likes competent companions. Pens that do not skip. Hangers that do not ban, EPs that obey the plan rather than hijack it. You walk past your old patterns by taking new routes on purpose. Streets that once held you in loops lose their power. Corners that once whispered delay fall quiet under your firm pace. Work asks for more of you and you give it without bleeding. You choose projects that match the architecture of your values. The results stand on their own and draw the right eyes. Your circle reshapes itself to fit the new circumference of your piece. Some rise and meet you. Some bow out without ceremony. Both movements honor the truth of fit. A weekend trip appears on your calendar like a bright stone. You take it to widen your lungs and let distance confirm your direction. The road greets you with mild markers that sound like affirmations. You return with an upgrade in calm. Home smells like trust. The door opens like a friend who kept watch while you were away. The next time a surprise tries to enter your life, it meets a gate with posted hours. Here is what is welcome. Here is what is not permitted. Here is the fee schedule for honesty and consistency. You adopt a practice of evening gratitude that refuses theater. One person to thank. One task that move. One lesson that will be kept. A list is small and the heart is full. Your mornings become a ceremony of alignment, breath, water, movement. Focus. You perform it without fuss until it performs you back with dividends. Letter arrives with an opportunity shaped like responsibility. You read it twice and then a third time to hear your body's verdict. Acceptance or decline becomes a clean stamp rather than a smear. The mirror continues to reward you with a face that trusts itself. Eyes that do not dart. Mouth that does not rush. Brow that does not beg. Presence that does not apologize. You sleep better than you have in years. Not because life is simple but because your stance is simple. Your posture tells your nervous system the truth and it believes you. On an ordinary Tuesday, you pass the place where the first knock happened. The air there has no hold on you now. Geography stops pretending to be destiny. Another week turns and the wheel does not grind your bones. The wheel turns because you oil it with habits and priorities. Even the hard days submit to the rail of your decisions. Archangel Michael says the long victory belongs to those who respect small hinges. Doors swing on them. Futures swing on them. Reputations swing on them. You teach by example without announcing that you teach. People adjust around your steadiness as if gravity itself has shifted. The room picks a leader and it is always the person who can stay calm without shrieking. One evening, the person who once hid the thing arrives with open hands and measured words. You listen, you verify, and you name the terms of continued access with poise. The path continues or ends according to the evidence, not the performance. If it continues, kindness and accountability walk side by side like twin rails. If it ends, respect and distance hold the rope that separates shore from sea. In both cases, you remain intact. You document what matters so memory cannot be kidnapped by mood. Dates, agreements, milestones, and reviews sit in one clean folder. The mind rests because the paper remembers. Your home now breathes like a living ally. It holds your routines without nagging. It receives your guests without chaos. It shelters you from storms without becoming one. You bless the doorway each time you pass under it. The blessing is not ceremony. The blessing is the quiet reminder that you decide what enters and what stays. Months turn and the glow others notice is simply alignment wearing your face. Projects complete. New ones begin. Your name travels ahead of you as a synonym for steady. You keep your feet where your values are and your values where your feet can fall. Momentum stops being fragile. Progress stops being dramatic. When the city sleeps, your window keeps a small watch. It remembers the night that recalibrated your compass. It remembers the knock that taught your door to be loyal to you first. You do not forget either. You carry the memory like a polished token that paves your way through difficult moments. It buys you calm, focus, and an absence of panic. The story that began with a hidden thing now lives as a public standard. No hidden arrivals. No midnight revelations. No objects carrying the weight meant for words. Everything important happens in daylight or it does not happen near you. Everything fragile receives support or it leaves to learn elsewhere. Everything sacred in you remains under your own guardianship. You end each day with hands open. Nothing clenched. Nothing begged, nothing disguised. Only the quiet strength of someone who belongs to their purpose. The city turns its lights down and the sky rehearses dawn again. Your heart keeps time with a steady drum, no longer confused by surprise. Sleep comes and blesses the architecture you keep building. When morning knocks, you open without hesitation. The threshold smiles because it knows you now. The world says good and the day agrees. Archangel Michael says this steadiness you practice is a bridge you keep building plank by plank. Each plank is a choice that favors truth over theater. Each choice turns a storm into ordinary weather. You walk through your rooms and everything that used to cling now lets go. Drawers close on clutter that once kept you hostage. Shelves carry only what deserves the dust it gathers. The doorframe holds your fingerprints from the night courage chose your name. The hinge sings a smaller sum because grandma stopped hanging on it. A lock turns like punctuation at the end of a clean sentence. You draft a plan that treats your hours as currency with value. The budget of your attention moves from deficit to surplus. Waste drains out of the day the way night drains out of dawn. Your person's updates arrive with evidence rather than promises. Calendars replace chaos and receipts replace rulers. The past stops applying for jobs in your future and does not get rehired. You create a small altar of order on your desk. One pen that never lies. One notebook that remembers. One lap that honors the page. The light blesses your discipline and your discipline blesses the work. Outside the street applauds with the quiet of functioning things. Signals change on time and drivers obey the rhythm. Even the stray breeze respects the lanes you set in your own lungs. You prepare your food as if your body is the craft that carries your mission. Spices learn restraint and portions learn wisdom. Nourishment becomes strategy instead of sedation. The messages you send now travel like trained birds. They depart with clarity and return with results. No feathers of confusion fall on your floor. You choose your mentors by the fruit they carry rather than the noise they make. You study patterns that survived storms without losing shape. You copy principles and never copy someone else's face. Your mornings become a corridor of right beginnings. The corridor leads to doors that open without being forced. The doors lead to work that requires your whole name. In conversations you practice the art of the clean no. The no arrives on time and prevents a heavy later. Space opens where your life can breathe without negotiation. Archangel Michael says the standard you enforce becomes the atmosphere you live in. Atmosphere shapes outcomes the way wind shapes dunes. What you allow is what you teach. You schedule a weekly meeting with your future self and attend it with respect. Metrics sit in their chairs and speak without drama. You listen and adjust with the calm of a pilot. The hidden object from that night becomes a museum piece with a placard. The placard reads "Lesson learned and pressure released." People who visit your life view it through glass and understand the cost. Time stops punishing you for delays you no longer endorse. The momentum treats you like a partner instead of prey. Forward becomes the only believable direction. You clean the last corner of your house that's still traded in ghosts. Dust settles and surrender, and light relocates into the space. The air tastes like a simple victory you promised to keep. A call from an old pattern tries to sweeten its voice. Your spine remembers the invoice attached to sweetness without substance. Your refusal is polite, final, and free of inflammation. You invest in tools that match your intention. You've built for distant software, built for Vogardings, built for real life. The world answers by becoming easier to lift. In the mirror, your face carries the rested geometry of a person who belongs to themselves. Lines around your eyes read like roads on a map. Each road returns you to center. You map the next quarter with a pencil that writes like a vow. Blocks of deep work stand beside blocks of deep rest. Sabbaths receive the same honor as deadlines. When fear visits, it finds a reception desk with a clipboard. It signs in, states its business, and waits without interrupting meetings. Most days it leaves before lunch because it got bored. Your circle grows smarter in its silence and louder in its fruit. Friends show up with tools and truth instead of gossip and gasoline. The group chat evolves into a greenhouse. The person who once brought the hidden thing now brings daylight. They arrive with receipts, dates, and clean confession. The room recognizes the tone of repair and relaxes its shoulders. You lay out terms that keep love from turning into a fear. Conspiracy sits in the front row and takes notes. Accountability holds the exits open for safe passage. If the path remains joined, it learns to march without stepping on toes. If the path separates, it bows without slamming doors. Peace holds authority in both scenes. Archangel Michael says stamina outlives spectacle. Samama makes small stacks of wins and guards them from erosion. Stamina turns valleys into corridors. You measure your life by systems that do not flinch. Inputs, outputs, and feedback loops speak a language without lies. Progress becomes the accent of your days. Work rewards your steadiness with impact you can quantify. People who depend on you learn to depend on their own strength because you model it. The room keeps choosing you to lead because you do not need to be loud. You develop a habit of closing tabs in your mind. One task at a time receives your entire orchestra. The music sounds like focus, not frenzy. Evenings return with a kindness that feels earned. Lamps switch on like friendly witnesses. The couch keeps secrets only of rest. You archive the paper trail of growth for future storms. Dates, decisions, and boundaries sit in order like stepping stones. When weather rises, you walk across them without sinking. Your phone has fewer alarms because panic resigned. Reminders sound like partners rather than critics. The calendar speaks in complete sentences. The city continues to spin. But you no longer tumble with it. You stand on your choices the way a tree stands on its roots. Wind tests but does not uproot. Messages from strangers arrive with needs you cannot carry. You offer what is honest and measurable. You do not audition for a savior's role that is not yours. The night that started this season returns sometimes as a memory with soft edges. You smile and let it pass through without triggering alarms. It now belongs to a chapter you have already titled and shelved. Your body thanks you by becoming a better instrument. Sleep tunes it. Movement strengthens it. Food oils the joints of purpose. You track your finances with the same respect you track your breath. Numbers stop being shadows and start being eyes. Security grows from transparency and time. You find a window of generous creativity and place your chair there each day. Ideas learn your schedule and show up on time. The blank page stops pretending to be a cliff. The doorframe becomes a threshold others learn to honor. They arrive on time, leave on time, and keep the agreements of the space. The house breathes with a civilized heart. A change Michael says elevation requires elimination. The altitude you seek will not allow stowaways of self-betrayal. The cabin of your life posts the rules and enforces them. You adopt rituals that repair micro-tears before they become rips. Walks between meetings. 10 breaths at transitions. Water before decisions that matter. A letter arrives with a future stamped on it. You verify, consult your standards, and say yes without tremor. The future accepts and sends coordinates. The street outside keeps thriving under the rhythm you now trust. Children play. Engines hum, and dust wears its colors like a well-cut soup. Ordinary becomes your favorite miracle. You choose books that sharpen rather than sedate. Sentences wire new paths in your thinking. Ideas sit beside your coffee like loyal mentors. Your heart stops negotiating with nostalgia about people who loved the older version of your boundaries. Affection bows to alignment. History bows to health. The person who once hit returns one last time in a different chapter. Their hands are empty and their eyes are clear. Closure or covenant receives a date and a witness. Work stretches in ways that fit your frame. Responsibility grows without theft. Influence arrives without the itch of performance. You begin to notice how much quieter the inside of your life has become. The quiet is not emptiness. The quiet is room for the right voices. Your evenings collect small treasures that do not need applause. A well-cooked head. A perfectly folded shirt. A paragraph that lands. Archangel Michael says, "Keep going the way the river keeps going." The river does not argue with its banks. The river knows that arriving is what water does when it moves with purpose. You end the day the way a craftsman ends a shift. Tools return to their places. Bench wiped clean. Project covered and dated for tomorrow. Sleep comes when called because it trusts you now. Dreams carry blueprints instead of alarms. Morning waits with a hand already extended. You rise with the economy of someone who knows the order of things. Buddy breath light list. The sequence holds and the day yields. In time, people describe you as safe ground. They build with you and do not fear collapse. Your name turns into a verb that means to steady. The city keeps pace and you keep yours. Traffic and tides no longer dictate the tone of your spirit. Inside and outside agree on the temperature. You thank the night that began all this, not with ceremony but with stewardship. The threckle that held you then holds you now. The door answers to your hand and only your hand. You keep your life at an altitude where clarity can see far. Storms still visit but they do not own the air. You navigate with instruments you trust because you built them. Archangel Michael says this is the reward for choosing truth when surprise tried to rule you. This is the peace that follows a door aligned with its keeper. This is the strength that keeps walking long after applause have grown to sleep.